Good morning, good evening, good day, good night, wherever you are in the world. I am Tim, back once again for another season of the Speed Force Racing GP2 series, and we are kicking it off with the Bahrain Grand Prix. Hope everyone has enjoyed the off-season. Hope everyone has enjoyed the first 3 races that the SFR Speed Force Racing League has been able to put on this week at Bahrain. This is the 4th, and there will be another one tomorrow, if my memory serves me correctly, of GP1 debuting at the Bahrain Grand Prix for Season 10. Of course, GP1 does have a shorter schedule than the other divisions, so you cannot really use the other divisions' calendars to predict the GP1 calendar. Just a little footnote there, but hope everyone is doing well and ready to see some action around Bahrain. I will be introducing the drivers as they come out on track. Some drivers, some new faces, some old faces, some new teams, some old teams, but nonetheless, it's still going to be a fantastic 21 race schedule. And just waiting to see which one is going to be the first driver to blink as we turn on all of what we need to see during the qualifying session. TNR Frederick, of course, in the Aston Martin. Do not believe he's went out yet, but it is going to be SFR Morris in a new ride this season, who has already done a spin in just the first corner. Not the start to the season that he wanted, but Morris in the Haas this season, along with his teammate of Mansell. They're going to be going for the Constructors title. They have already told me so. Will they be able to get it once again? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, we have got Eric Yeast, otherwise known as Macaulay, in the Red Bull this season, and looks like he is going to be pretty comfortable through that sector of the racetrack. Of course, he has got a teammate of Eric's, Mamba at 66, who is just now coming out of the pits in his Red Bull. TNR Langfeld in the Aston Martin. Of course, we've already mentioned his teammate of TNR Frederick in the other Aston Martin, needless to say. And Luke Bailey in the McLaren, you see him out here. And does he have his teammate? Yes, he does. Tom Goproff. Almost a full field today. 19 cars going to be qualifying with us here today. Of course, we do have a couple of reserves. Rogue Smithy and Norloser, both of them in the Ferrari. There is Rogue Smithy and Norloser. You see him there. Right on board with Norloser. Of course, they are all on their outlap. We're just waiting for the first driver to find their flying lap. And originally, I thought it was going to be Morris, but unfortunately, he spun and something happened to Rogue Smithy. He's already retired from the session, so Rogue Smithy will not be setting a lap time, unfortunately for him. But it looks like Eric Yeast is on his flying lap, so we will pay attention to that Red Bull as he goes through turn number 1. Now, turn number 1 and 2 is going to be probably the trickiest corners of the entire racetrack. You really have to get slowed way down after a long DRS straight. And then here you see him going through turns 3. You don't want to hit that corner on the inside or it will spin you. You can go a little bit wide, be a little bit more liberal with those track limits, but a little bit too wide, then you're going to suffer from wheel spin and go into the wall, or even worse, a track penalty. Why do I say that the track limit penalty is worse than going into the wall? Because it's more frustrating. You have to live with it the whole race. At least if you wreck out, you can, you can go and get mad and then calm down later instead of having to deal with the time penalty. It's all about a psychological aspect to it. I see your comments are coming in. We'll go ahead and take a look at that and talk to you. We do not want to ignore you. Now that uphill section, it is going to be very tricky. You do not want to go full throttle through there on full fuel. It's going to be a very easy way to spin that car around and perhaps go into the wall as well. And really, there's 2 ways that can end. You're either going to slide to the inside of the track and hit the wall, or you're going to slide to the outside of the track and maybe avoid the wall, but still have a lot of recovery to do. Calvin says, good evening, you sweet voice man. Well, thank you, Calvin. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Gareth Vickers, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you as well. Oh, and it looks like Rogue Smithy, looks like he has actually been racing and has a different setting for the brake than what most of us would, or at least the games that he's been racing on has a different brake setting, so that's what happened to him. Unfortunately, forgot his brake, so not a good qualifying session, but it's not where you start, it's where you finish. Langfeld, so far the fastest driver, a 126, but now it's Frederick with a 126.690 in the Aston Martin. Let's take a look at Norloser in the Ferrari. He is in the 3rd and final sector. We'll see what kind of lap time he can lay down and how it's looking so far. 105.535 through the 2nd sector. Mansell on his outlap now. Train Game Wow goes to 8th, a 128.116 on the medium tire. We'll talk about the tire strategies here in just a moment. First, we'll let Norloser complete his lap, and as he crosses the line, he will go to P5, a 127.116. Now, the preferred tire strategy around here, more than likely you're going to see the top 10 start on the soft tires because that is what they're going to qualify on. Now, there might be one or two oddballs that do have the pace on the medium tires, but more than likely it's going to be a soft tire top 10 for this start. So what do you do with the strategy at that point? Well, you're going to want to ideally turn it into a one-stop. That's going to look like a soft to hard strategy. Of course, that is only viable if there are no safety cars. If you're starting on the medium, then arguably, in my opinion, you have an even better alternative of going medium to hards. And that is also obviously a one-stop strategy. The medium tires, you're going to see them really start to fall off close to about lap 9 or 10. So you're going to see them hitting about lap 12 or 13 to go on to the hard tires. Now, for the soft tires, you don't want to take them any more than 10 laps, and realistically, about 8 or 9 laps is about as much as you want to run on them. Of course, this does vary between driving style and setups. But from what I've found, the medium tire compound can last about 12, 13 laps, and then you put the hard tires on, and it takes a while for them to warm up. But once they do, they feel so great. The medium tires, it's going to take about 3 to 4 laps for them to really reach their optimal temperature, and approximately the same time for the hards, give or take a few more laps. Of course, being the hard tire compound, you might want to stretch it out a little bit further, maybe 5 or 6 laps before they really start to come in, but nonetheless, that's going to be your strategies. Of course, you can do a soft, medium, soft, or soft, soft, medium, however you want to alternate that. But I just don't believe that the two-stop strategy in a race where there is no safety car is going to be a viable option. But of course, I have been wrong before. As you see, Mansell, 127.755, good enough for 13th on the board at the moment. Let's take a look now at Pim. So Pim, of course, has not raced in GP2, or did not race in GP2 last season, but he is with us this season. Good to see him there. In the Williams, I might add. Looks like his teammate is going to be Kara. So as Pim rounds the final corner, he is going to cross the line. He goes to the pole position, a 126.399. So pole position for the Williams and Pim at the moment. We'll take a look now at Calvin Racing in the Mercedes. Calvin on his flying lap. Let's just ride on board, and I'm going to be completely quiet. We will just give you nothing but raw sound for the remainder of this lap. Oh, and a little bit of a wiggle, and into the wall goes Calvin, and he crashes. Oh my goodness, every time I try to do that on the stream, without fail, during qualifying, one of the drivers ends up wrecking out. So I'm going to have to just start experimenting with this a little bit. I'm sorry, but I need to experiment and see if it is truly me that causes those things, or if it's just an unmistakable and quite amazing coincidence. I want to say it's a coincidence, but it just seems to happen too many times that a driver will make a mistake when I'm riding on board with them, unless they're just watching the stream and all of a sudden they get pressure put on them. But like I was saying, that uphill section, it's going to be very tricky. You could avoid the wall if you spin to the outside. Unfortunately, Calvin was not quite as lucky, so he will not set a lap time. He's going to be starting from the tail end of the field. As we watch Morris now on his flying lap, currently a 127.159, and I've got to see what you guys are saying about that. Noah Wilkins says, let's go Odd Ivan. He's taking the win today. Hey, and you know what? That is a very good possibility. He won, I believe, his debut race last season in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. And Calvin says, typical on my worst track, especially with being watched. See, so I told you, it's not me. There was just a little bit of pressure, too much pressure put on Calvin. Don't feel bad, Calvin. I've made that mistake many times before. As you see Morris go to a 126.130. Now let's take a look at TNR Frederick. Going to try for another flying lap in that Aston Martin. Let's try it again. We'll watch him. Well, we avoided some mistakes, but Frederick still dove down into the pits, not setting a lap time, but I think that proves that it is not me, it's just coincidence. At least that's the story I'm going to be going with. As Carr, I think he just rocketed up to the second position, a 126.133 for him, regardless of when he set that lap. I believe I saw a change in the standings, and Luke Bailey went a little bit wide there, as you saw, and decides to go into the pits just over 6.5 minutes remaining in this session. We'll take a look at Norloser in the Ferrari, who goes a little bit wide there, but hangs on to it. That AlphaTauri looks like behind him went even wider. Of course, in the AlphaTauri this season, it's going to be Odd Ivan and KXI7. KXI7 returning to the AlphaTauri, and Odd Ivan, of course, going to be running full-time as far as I'm aware this season, so good job to him, and best of luck as Norloser does not improve his position, still P11, or actually, no, he did improve his position, my apologies, a 126.815. And Eric's Mamba going to third, a 126.371, right as we were about to take a look at him, actually. So let's take a look at the McLaren of Tom Goproff. Currently P7 with a 126.465. And all the drivers starting to come out now and, you know, make what minimal tweaks they are allowed to make under the Parc Fermé rules, and then go back out onto the track to try to set the fastest lap time. Of course, the only tweaks that you can make is to brake bias, on-throttle differential, and the front wing. So you're very limited on the adjustments that you can make in between qualifying and the race, and even during qualifying after you have already set your lap. So in short, it's good to have a setup before you get here, otherwise you could very well be struggling. Of course, you can struggle to set a setup as well, no pun intended, I suppose. 21 viewers, though. Welcome each and every one of you. We hope that you are enjoying your time here. And don't forget, the race starts in about 5 minutes' time. This is just qualifying, so if you're enjoying qualifying, you're definitely going to be enjoying the race. As you watch Tom Goproff in his beautiful red helmet, I might add, round the final corner, he goes not into the pits, but instead across the line and goes to third, a 126.146. He pulled a little sneaky on me there for a minute. We'll take a look now at Train Game Wow. Train Game Wow, of course, one of the newest commentators to join the Speed Force Racing commentary team. I believe it's for the GP4 division that is run on Mondays at 8 p.m. UK time. He goes to 10th, a 126.560, and the Alfa Romeo, his teammate, of course, Bossy Gaming, a commentator as well when he is able to do so. Of course, you know, we do have part-time commentators and full-time commentators in the Speed Force Racing League. And anyone watching out there, if maybe you want to join our ranks either as a driver or as a commentator, please feel free to mention it in the chat and somebody will get in touch with you, or feel free to look me up. My PSN is forever24 hold on a minute, forever24 underscore JG. Yes, that is it. I almost forgot my own PSN name. Calvin just pointed out to me that the top 15 is separated by 1 second, and you are exactly right. If that doesn't tell you just how close the division is, then I don't know what does. And Bossy Gaming might have even got a little bit of a slipstream off of that car. Did not see who that was. Actually, it was his teammate, so I'm sure he got a slipstream. The two Alfa Romeos working together. So Bossy Purple in the second sector, a 104 I saw up there in the sector times. We'll see what he's able to do as he rounds down this very long straightaway. Gonna have one more DRS zone right before the line. It's not gonna be too beneficial to him, but it will be a little bit as he crosses the line. He will go to, not fast enough. Oh, but it is a 126.453. There's a little bit of a delay on getting that time, I think, but goes to 8th place, a 126.453. Just over 2.5 minutes remaining in the qualifying session now. And let's see who else is on a flying lap. Mansell looks like he is going to be on an in lap. A few drivers on their out laps. Let's take a look at Kara, actually. Kara, your GP4 champion from a couple of seasons ago. Into Williams. Made the jump last season, jumping over GP3 straight to GP2. Had an impressive run, and now this season looking for even more. Of course, as we know, last season's championship was largely dominated by the Haas of Carwin Robb, who has now moved to the GP1 division along with his other competitor of Timo in the Mercedes. So that's why you don't see Timo or Carwin Robb in the race today for any Timo and Carwin Robb fans that may be out there. So if you're a Kara fan, then you're about to see a flying lap here in just a moment, but we will turn to Eric Schiest in the Red Bull and see what he's going to be able to do. In fact, Eric Schiest might even pass our Williams driver before he's able to set a lap time. Oh my goodness, and Eric Schiest spins and goes into the wall, and that is his qualifying absolutely done. That sector is such a tricky sector, and that is very, very easy to happen. So unfortunately for Macaulay, he will not be able to do any better than the 12th position today, and we will watch Kara on his flying lap, which will likely be his final flying lap of the session. A 126.133 is his best lap so far, only 3 thousandths of a second slower than Morris. Waiting to see if Morris is actually going to go out there again, or if he has just decided that he is happy with his lap time as it stands. But one thing I'm noticing is that almost every driver is on the soft tire except for Calvin Racing, who has already wrecked out of the session, so he will not be setting a lap time on that compound of medium tires. On board with Kara, we'll watch his steering inputs, and this is something that I used to learn. Unfortunately, my races, which I race in GP5 on Monday at 7:30 p.m. UK time, my races unfortunately happen before GP2, so I cannot learn for my upcoming race. I just have to learn in general, but I do watch the drivers' steering inputs and try to pick up a few tips here and there, and Kara is definitely one of the best to watch. Of course, in GP2, I really don't think that there is a bad driver in this division. They are just so quick, and as it's already been pointed out, the top 15 or so are already separated by within a second. So it just goes to show that they are all very, very quick. But that is the qualifying session done, so this will be the final lap for Kara, and will he be able to improve on his time? It's going to be very close as he crosses the line, and he goes to pole, a 125.985, just barely beating out Morris in the Haas. So Morris can do no better than second. Tom Goprov can do no better than third with a 126.146, but we still have Langfell and Crowhawk, the Mercedes and the Aston Martin, both of those drivers on a flying lap. But oh, Langfell, he's already invalidated, and Crowhawk, he is going to cross that line, and he goes to fourth, a 126.235 for the Mercedes. Let's take a look at Odd Ivan now, a driver that we really have not given a lot of love yet this session, so we'll see him cross the line for his final flying lap, and will he go to pole? He does not, but he does improve his time at 126.239, just below Crowhawk. Oh, and TNR to Jonas, the winner from Australia last season, a 126.182 in that Alpine car, so he is looking very pretty for his starting position in fourth. Of course, the starting positions, it's a little funny. Obviously, you want to start on the pole, because arguably, if you can get a good start, then you're going to avoid the calamity in turn 1. You will be able to pull away from everyone else thanks to the clean air and assuming that you have the pace, your raw pace. And beyond that, well, it just feels good, doesn't it, to win? But sometimes the pole is not always the preferred spot. As we were saying, if you qualify on the soft tire, you have to start on the soft tire as per rules, and I'm sure that most, if not everybody watching, understands that rule. But that also puts you in a tricky situation for your strategy. So you have to keep your options open, especially around Bahrain. Now, P11 is strategic pole. Strategic pole means that you can choose any tire you want, still be fairly close to the top 10, and not have a lot of ground to make up during the race. But here are your official starting results for the GP2 Series Bahrain Grand Prix, as Kara takes the pole with Morris in second, Tom Goproff in third, to Jonas in fourth, Crowhawk in fifth, Odd Ivan in sixth, seventh is Mamba, Langfell in eighth, ninth is Pim, Frederick in 10th, Bossy Gaming in 11th, 12th is Train Game Wow, Yeast in 13th, 14th is Norloser Luke Bailey in 15th, KXI in 16th, 17th is Mansell, Rogue Smithy in 18th, and 19th is Calvin Racing. Almost a full field today, unless one of our drivers wants to join in very last minute, that is. But you know what? 19 cars, 20 cars, I don't think it matters, because I have seen 20-car races, not necessarily in F1, but I've seen 20-car races that have been a snooze fest, and I have seen 3-car races that have been absolutely phenomenal. So sometimes it's not about the number of cars, it's just the quality of the drivers, and we have a high quality of drivers today. And normally this would be the time that I talk to my co-commentator and get our top 3 predictions, but since I'm the only one here, I guess I'm the one for top 3 predictions. Of course, chat, you are more than welcome to give us your own personal top 3 predictions of who you think is going to finish on the podium, whether that be in a specific order or in any order. And for me, in any order, I'm going to go, well, there's going to be 2 easy choices there, of course, of Kara and Morris, your top 2 at the moment, but I'm feeling like maybe Crowhawk is in for a podium as well, starting in, I believe, the 4th position. Of course, we will find out at the end of 29 laps around the Bahrain circuit. Tire choices. Of course, the top 10, as expected, on the soft tire compound, but then Bossy Gaming in that strategic pole position. He is going for the one-stop medium to hard strategy, I am sure. Train Game Wow, though, his teammate going to do Psychomich things, starting on the hard tires. Now, what are Psychomich things for those of you who may be new? Well, a few seasons ago, me and my co-commentator at the time of Oliver were commentating on GP4. There was a driver called Psychomich, and for whatever reason, he always started on hards. I don't think he ever had a good qualifying run to where he could get into the top 10 and be forced to start on the softs or mediums or whatever he went out, he went for his lap on. So when he would start outside the top 10, he always, without fail, started on the hard tires. And you may be sitting to yourself thinking, well, why would you do that? That would almost never work. Well, it almost got him a podium. Got him fairly close to a win in that very same race that he almost got a podium. Now, I do believe that it unfortunately ended in a DNF racing incident, put him into the wall. But the fact is that Psychomich, he not only started on the hard tires, he actually was finding a way to make that strategy work. And so it's become a bit of a meme, I guess you could say, among the SFR commentators that if you start on hard tires, you are doing Psychomich things. And Train Game Wow doing Psychomich things from the 12th position. Of course, Yeast back there on the soft tire, so we'll be looking for him to make a few moves early on. And then a lot of medium tires going all the way back to Rogue Smithy, who was elected to start on the softs, and Calvin on the medium tires. Kara will be your pole sitter, and he will, hopefully for his sake, be leading once they exit turns 1 and 2. But for pretty much anyone else that's not Kara, they're the ones that wants to be leading. But that's just the normal information, right? We need to get down to the nitty-gritty. We need to get ready for this race, but first we have to wait for the drivers to find their appropriate positions on the racetrack, and then we will be set and ready to go. Martin's going with the winner being P1, the runner-up being P2. Well, obviously. Noah Wilkins says, 1 Odd Ivan, that's it. Well, we know who Noah's going to be pulling for today. Cabricon says that he misses Sykomich, and yeah, I really do too. I hope wherever he is, he's doing well, but now we are set and almost ready to go. And for the first time in Season 10 GP2, you hear those engines revving, you hear those itchy pedal feet, the drivers watching the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights in the air. No red lights. We are green for the Speed Force Racing GP2 Series Bahrain Grand Prix. Kara does not get the best of starts. I believe that Morris might just have an advantage on him going into turn number 1, but Kara on the outside is just barely trying to fight back, and he edges Morris into turn number 1. Maybe a little bit of contact in the back of the pack and in the middle of the pack. And who was that? That was Frohawk in the Mercedes trying to make his way around to Jonas. Not going to work. They're going to be side by side down the straightaway. And who was that just went into the lead? It was nobody, because Kara has still been able to hang on to the lead and hold off Morris, but only by 0.4 of a second. As you saw, the Mercedes and the Alpine go side by side. Frohawk has to back out of it. A very smart move there. You do not want to go side by side through that sector the first few corners, and we are already away and clean. Pim looking like he's making some moves up through the pack. Really, we cannot keep track of every single move that's happening, but we're going to be doing our best here today. TNR Frederick already in P10 here, and oh, there was some contact there. Does Bossy Gaming have wing damage on that Alfa Romeo, or was that another driver who unfortunately has some wing damage? Trying to get a good look at the Alfa Romeo. We're looking at it out the back of Frederick's car, and so far it looks like Bossy is A-OK on that wing, so maybe it is Frederick with the wing damage. Who knows? We're going to find out here soon, because we're going to be reaching the pit stop. And who was that? Bossy Gaming went off the track a little bit wide there, and now just trying to find a place to rejoin as the Red Bull of Mamba gets around the Aston Martin of Frederick and made that look very, very easy. And now Train Game Wow and the Aston Martin on those hard tires. They're fighting side by side. Some contact. But now the Alfa Romeo gets by, and so does the Ferrari of Rogue Smithy, just barely, as Frederick is just going the absolute wrong way. He dives down into the pits, and he was the one with wing damage, so that explains why he was losing so many positions. Meanwhile, Tom Goprov, Morris, and Kara 3, 2, and 1 at the moment. The McLaren of Tom Goprov, a little bit of a wiggle there. He is able to hang on to it, using that slipstream to get close to Morris, but unfortunately he's just not close enough to make a move for the lead. Morris slowly gaining on Kara, but actually further back than he was a lap ago, 0.6 of a second now. Kara really using the clean air to his advantage, as Odd Ivan and the AlphaTauri looking like he's going to be slowly making some moves, 0.2 of a second separating him and Pim. And at this point, now that everyone has gotten by turn 1 calamity, they've gotten by the start, they can just settle in and be ready for the rest of this race. The race is not won on lap 1 in turn 1, but it can certainly be lost on lap 1, turn 1, and these drivers know that all too well. Of course, it can also be lost on lap 2, 3, 4, 5, and pretty much any lap that is not the checkered flag lap. So Odd Ivan going very smooth up that uphill section, as well as Pim, but it looked like Odd Ivan had a little bit more momentum than the Williams driver did, and Odd Ivan might be sizing Pim up for a move here, but not able to do so this time. And I'd say that AlphaTauri driver wishes that the DRS was active, because then he could get a run on Pim going to turn number 1, but he's going to have to wait until the exit of turn 2 to get a DRS run, because DRS is enabled only now. But what is going on in the back? Calvin is leading a train of cars on the very inside line, protecting that inside line, not letting anybody go around him. But just behind him, Rogue Smithy thought about making a move around the McLaren of Luke Bailey, thought better of it. So it's going to be Calvin, Luke, and Rogue Smithy, 10th, 11th, and 12th, out of turn number 2 and down the DRS straight. Meanwhile, Odd Ivan still has not been able to pass the Williams driver. Morris still close, but not close enough to Kara, but they should be approaching a DRS. So now let's see, just for a moment, to reset our leaders here and see what the Haas driver is going to do. If anything, he should have the DRS very easily, and there you heard that little beep, and he's got it active. He's also got his overtake active, as you can see on his wheel there. And he did gain on him, as you could see, but not close enough. And that's really going to be the story of Morris's race here for a while. I think that Kara has got this thing dialed in today. Taking a look at Frohawk now, who seems to be in a world of his own until you saw that Alpine come into your frame on the left side there. But this is what's looking like a very big DRS train, pretty much from the McLaren all the way back to the Williams of Pim, perhaps, or maybe even the Red Bull of Eric Cheese. We have to take a look. It is actually going to be the Red Bull of Eric Cheese that is stuck in this DRS train, but here goes Odd Ivan thinking about making a move on Pim. Is he going to be able to do it into turn number 1? And the AlphaTauri driver just barely gets by, clears him into turn number 1, and Pim cannot do a crossover, so both drivers have to run nose to tail through that section. But now Pim should have some DRS on him this time, but I don't think he did actually. Actually, no, he did. He just did not have enough DRS and enough straightaway to really make a run at the AlphaTauri. So Pim going the wrong way, Odd Ivan going the right way. His next victim, if he can catch him, is the Mercedes of Crowhawk. And look at Jonas, really close to the back of Tom Goproff, who might have just had a little bit of a moment off of that corner. Tom Goproff to Jonas and Crowhawk all running pretty much nose to tail, and there you saw the DRS open on that Alpine. We might see a move for the 3rd position around the McLaren, but not close enough that time. Meanwhile, Morris is keeping a somewhat consistent gap behind Kara of 0.7 of a second, but unfortunately for him, that is not close enough to be making any moves in DRS straights. Everything he gains, he loses in between the DRS zones. Jonas using the slipstream to get even closer to Tom Goproff. We might see him move into turn number 1 here if he can get a good exit out of this final corner, and I think he did. He got a better exit than the McLaren, and that rear wing is wide open. And there goes the Alpine underneath the McLaren, making the move with relative ease. Clears him before he gets to turn 1, but Tom Goproff tries to fill the hole on the outside. Can't do anything with it, but you can't blame him for trying. They both get away fairly clean. A little bit of a wibble, though, from Jonas, but we see him hang on to that car. Now let's take a look at Odd Ivan, who is gaining on Crowhawk, and by gaining, I mean he is there. Look at that. If the brake pedal did not work in that AlphaTauri, then the AlphaTauri would have been in the back of the Mercedes. That's how close that he was. Battle between Rogue Smithy and Calvin going on. Looks like Rogue Smithy moves into the 10th position. Oh, and Odd Ivan gets into the back of Crowhawk, sends him wide, and I wonder if that's going to be a warning for Crowhawk. No wing damage, luckily, for the AlphaTauri driver, but that was a very close call. And, you know, that's a matter of, I don't believe Odd Ivan was really trying to hit him, obviously, because that just runs the risk of ruining your own race. It's just that he did not expect the Mercedes to slow down quite as much as he did. These mistakes do happen, and looks like everyone got away scot-free. Still wondering, though, if Crowhawk picked up a warning or not. But if he didn't, then it's even better for both drivers. Now we're right on board with Odd Ivan as he tries to get a run down the straightaway. He's going to be able to get around Crowhawk, I believe. But Crowhawk, you see, his rear wing is open too, so he was able to get some DRS off of Tom Goproff. But Odd Ivan is still faster, and he goes around the Mercedes, makes it look easy. Meanwhile, it's a side-by-side battle between the Alpine and the McLaren, and Jonas finally gets the move done around Tom Goproff. Move to Jonas up into the 3rd position. Tom Goproff now back to 5th because Odd Ivan gets around him within the DRS zone. Now Odd Ivan, he is looking very, very strong, and he is gaining very quickly on that Alpine. Did not expect to see this driver in the 4th position by lap 6. I never denied he was quick. I never denied he had a chance. But if you would have told me that he would have made up, in fact, we're going to check how many positions has he made up. If you would have told me that, oh, he's only made up 2 positions. I thought he started further back than that. Never mind. But still, if you would have told me that he has this amount of pace and that he's able to pick off these drivers as quickly as he is by lap 6, I would have said that you were crazy. But it is certain crazy is looking like a reality today for Odd Ivan. Of course, we talked to him a little bit last season, and we asked him, as you see, unfortunately, Tom Goproff going wide and getting a 3-second time penalty. But we asked Odd Ivan last season if he wanted to compete full-time, and he said yes, he did, and obviously he is going to be competing full-time, or at least as many races as he can attend this season. So imagine, after winning in Mexico last season, and with such a strong performance as he goes around to Jonas, what kind of start to the season would that give him if he were somehow able to catch Morris and Kara and win this race, start the season off leading the points championship? That would be a tremendous confidence booster. But here, let's reset our leaders and ride on board with Morris. He's slowly been eating away at that gap, and then he loses every bit of it, and now he's out of DRS zone, and that is not what Morris needed at all. And now I'm starting to think that you're going to see the Haas go back rather than forward. Morris just does not seem to have the pace to compete with Kara at the moment, so we might see Odd Ivan getting a little bit closer to the DRS zone to Morris, but that is still a 3.9 second interval that he has to make up. There you see Odd Ivan just behind Morris. That is a long, long way to go before he gets close to the Haas. Lap 7 of 29. I expect pit stops to be starting here sooner rather than later. And personally, if I were Morris, I would be pitting on the next lap to try to get an undercut on Kara. And something has happened to Crowhawk. Something's happened to Crowhawk. He is spun. Unfortunate for Crowhawk, but he has maintained the wheels on that car. The front wing is gone, but the wheels are still there. And that means that his race can continue, albeit incredibly marred. And now battling with Rogue Smithy. He just needs to let Rogue Smithy go is what he needs to do, and then he needs to get to the inside line. It's not helping him to be fighting like this. So now he goes very, very wide into the dirt and has to just cut across the track to go into the pits. And a speeding penalty. I saw that coming. I believe that Crowhawk is just going to retire. And already a few drivers actually getting a jump on the pit stop. So Morris going for the super undercut, not waiting the lap like I suggested, and instead going this lap, which, you know what, hey, it might actually work out for him, and he gets out just ahead of Train Game Wow in the Alfa Romeo, who, unfortunately for him, doing those Psychomich things just has not paid off for him quite as much as he thought it was going to. So Morris comes out officially in P11 with a handful of drivers yet to pit. In fact, I think he was the first in the top 10 to actually blink for the pit stop. So Odd Ivan inherits the second position, 5.5 seconds behind Kara, and slowly gaining on him, it looks like. 5.6 now, 5.63. Are we going to see a 6.2? No, a 5.67. 5.67, so Kara is faster even than Odd Ivan at the moment, 5.7 seconds now. So there for a moment he was able to keep that gap going down, but not any longer. To Jonas in the Alpine, though, might have some DRS on Odd Ivan, and he might have something to say about Odd Ivan's pace. Meanwhile, Kara, Odd Ivan, and Jonas, all three of those cars going to be staying out on track for at least one more lap. Langfeld looks like he might as well. So the top 10 not yet ready to pit. Morris was the only driver who decided that enough was enough on the soft tires and going to the medium strategy. I think that Morris might be going for a two-stopper, a soft to medium, to soft again at the end of the race. To Jonas, though, using that DRS to go underneath the AlphaTauri, and he gets the move done, but only barely. Moved to Jonas up in a second. Odd Ivan back down to third. Rogue Smithy making a move on Calvin. Is he going to be able to do it, though? Side by side. Oh, and contact! Rogue Smithy into the side of the Mercedes, and the Mercedes goes a little bit wide, hangs onto it. Rogue Smithy backs out of it, so now Luke Bailey gets by on the outside. Rogue Smithy goes from 8th to 9th. Calvin hangs on to the 7th position. Luke Bailey now wrapped up in this three-car battle for the 7th position. And all of these drivers are on medium tires except for the Ferrari of Rogue Smithy. And those soft tires are getting to the end of their life, so that would explain why he's struggling a little bit to pass these guys, as Crowhawk picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So that brings his total to, I believe, 8 seconds. Crowhawk not retiring like I originally anticipated that he would with the way that he sped into the pits. So Luke Bailey closing in on Calvin Racing. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. We'll ride on board with him. Calvin protecting that inside line, trying to break that slipstream. Luke Bailey keeping it calm, cool, and collected. This is not Luke's first rodeo, of course, as now we see our leader pitting as well as Langfeld. So our leader goes to the medium tire strategy. Where does Langfeld go? Mediums as well. And here goes Luke Bailey around the Mercedes of Calvin, but will he clear him before turn 1? Yes, he will, with relative ease. Move Luke Bailey up into what is now the 5th position because pit stops are going on. So TNR to Jonas, Odd Ivan, Yeast, and Pim, your top 4. Those drivers have yet to pit, as does Luke Bailey and Calvin. Kara got out in front of Morris still. He still got out in front of Morris, as it's a side-by-side battle again between Calvin and Luke Bailey. Calvin not wanting to give up this position. It's going to be side-by-side, but Luke Bailey has to back out of it, and a very smart move there. We saw an incident yesterday in the GP3 series race around that section of the course where two cars went in side by side, and quite frankly, it just does not work. So now Cara, he has caught these guys here. And virtually, he is your leader. Once everyone ahead of him decides to make their pit stop, he will re-inherit the lead. And Morris, the undercut worked for him a little bit. When Cara came out, he was 0.8 of a second behind Cara, which he was able to gain some, but not enough in the slightest. And look at how close Cara was out of that final corner to the McLaren of Luke Bailey. He's got a double slipstream. He dives down low and still gets a slipstream off the Mercedes. Now there goes Cara around the Mercedes of Calvin, trying to get underneath the McLaren of Luke Bailey. Not able to do it this time, but he should still have DRS out of this corner here. So out of the third corner, there's the DRS zone, and the rear wing opens on the Williams, but it does so on the Mercedes as well. It's going to be a 3-wide situation. Maybe, no, it wasn't. Cara moves around Luke Bailey for the third position. But it's a side-by-side battle once again for the McLaren and Mercedes drivers. And again, Luke Bailey, he is forced to back out of it. Calvin into fourth, Luke Bailey into fifth, Morris back there in that white Haas in the sixth position. Yeast is leading, Pim in second. Both those drivers need to pit. Cara does not, neither does Calvin and Luke Bailey, they need to pit as well, but Morris does not. They're in the sixth position. On board with Luke Bailey, but now we got a battle between Luke Bailey's teammate and Train Game Wow. Train Game Wow and Tom Goproff had a side-by-side moment. Train Game Wow goes back around the McLaren on those hard tires, and I'd say those hard tires, they're starting to feel pretty dang good right now. 10 laps on those hards. They still have got plenty of time left. I'd say that driver, he can go another 9 laps or so and feel very wonderful. So Pim has made a pit stop. Yeast is going to stay out on track for at least one more lap, taking it to 11 laps on those soft tires, a lot further than what I would want to personally, as you see Tom Goproff go back around the Alfa Romeo into turn number 1. And Tom Goproff sails away. Hot Ivan in the AlphaTauri, throwing his hat into the ring. Archie Jonas in the Alpine, trying desperately to copy what the McLaren of Tom Goproff did. DRS zone coming up. This might give him an opportunity. Unfortunately for him, Train Game Wow will get the DRS off of Tom Goproff more than likely. So this is a DRS train chugga chugga choo choo for the first time in Season 10. And Jonas goes around Train Game Wow, but will he keep it? Yes, he does. Move Jonas up into the 6th position. Train Game Wow into 7th. 8th place is still going to be Odd Ivan, but I feel like that's not going to be the case for long. Oh, and that was so very close. Look at how close Odd Ivan got to the back of Train Game Wow. That could have been a disaster for the AlphaTauri driver. Looking like he's going to try to dive down low. Thought better of it. Falls back in line. Get as much slipstream as he can off of his car before the DRS zone. Odd Ivan going to be looking at Train Game Wow into turn number 1, and there we go. Odd Ivan making the move. Does he make it stick? Yes, he does. And can Train Game Wow fight back at all? No, he cannot. He tries on the outside, but can't make anything come of it. So move Odd Ivan up into the 6th position. Train Game Wow back to 7th. Now battling hard with Langfell in the Aston Martin. Langfeld, Train Game Wow, they both have DRS. Langfeld thinking about making a move, but thought better of it. The best case scenario there. Train Game Wow goes wide, though. That gave Langfeld an opportunity, but unfortunately, Train Game Wow got back ahead of Langfeld. Langfeld almost spun it using that curve a little bit too much, had to back out of it, so that gives Train Game Wow a small amount of breathing room, but only a small amount. DRS zone. You see the rear wing open on the Alfa Romeo. You also can see the rear wing open on the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin goes underneath Train Game Wow, gets the move done just in time. Moved Linkbell up into the 7th position. Train Game Wow back down into the 8th position. Those old hard tires, they might feel good, but they cannot compare to a fresh set of mediums. Almost had a little bit of contact between those two drivers. So to Jonas and Odd Ivan battling very hard here. See what Odd Ivan's going to be able to do. Will he be able to get around the Alpine? It's going to be a little bit close. Don't think he's going to be able to do it, not without a major outbraking zone. And unfortunately, to Jonas dove down there and blocked Odd Ivan's momentum. So Odd Ivan's going to have to just watch this battle play out. To Jonas trying desperately to get around Tom Goproff, but here comes Odd Ivan. He's got the DRS. Is he going to go up, down the middle? No, he's going to go around the outside of Tom Goproff. Tom Goproff might just lose 2 spots here. He's already lost 1 to the Alpine, and there goes Odd Ivan a little bit wide. That might be a warning looking for him. Not a time penalty, though, and he still has to let Tom Goproff go. Oh, and Tom Goproff, he has a little bit of a moment. Odd Ivan just barely avoids wing damage there. Tom Goproff stays ahead of Odd Ivan, but just barely, and the momentum will carry the AlphaTauri around the outside. It turns into the inside line. Tom Goproff tries the old switcheroo on Odd Ivan, but is he going to be able to do it? He should have DRS, so he will have an opportunity to make a pass. And there you saw, Odd Ivan does not have any DRS. So he is at the mercy of his own raw pace at the end of that straightaway, which just was enough to keep the McLaren behind him. But I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to keep it behind him going into turn number 1. It doesn't matter how fast you are. Sometimes DRS is just a little quicker. Riding on board with Tom Goproff now. A good exit out of this final corner is going to be crucial to get into that 4th position this time. But the more I look at it, the more I think that Odd Ivan is just a little bit too fast, and that Tom Goproff is going to have to spend this entire lap trying to catch back up before worrying about making a pass. Of course, 6 laps on those medium tires are not doing him any favors versus Odd Ivan's 3 laps. Although you could argue that the medium tires for Tom Goproff are about to come in and really feel good. As you saw, a bit of a side-by-side battle with Luke Bailey and Eric Yeast there through turns 1 and 2. So we'll switch over to that for a minute. Luke Bailey drops down to 10th, Yeast up into 9th, and Pim into 8th place, just ahead of them. So it's a nice 3-car battle there. But going back to Tom Goproff, after 6 laps, those medium tires should be starting to feel pretty decent. However, fresh tires are still fresh tires. Resetting the leaders here for just a moment. There you see Kara pretty much in a land of his own. Morris in 2nd place to Jonas in 3rd. Of course, we have been watching very closely the battle for the 3rd and 4th positions. Tom Goproff there in the McLaren looking like he's going a little bit down. And are we under a virtual safety car? No, we're not. It looked like from that angle that everything was going slow, but I am mistaken. We are not under a virtual safety car or a safety car. Just 2 yellow flags. But even those have been lifted now. Going back to Yeast, who's closing in on Pim. And that's interesting that Yeast is actually closing in on his ride from last season. He took the Red Bull this season. Whether that was what he wanted or what he got, who is to say? But he is in the Red Bull, trying to pass his former car. He should have the DRS down the straightaway, and he's got the slipstream, that's for sure. Goes underneath the Williams driver, makes it look easy, but will he be able to clear him before turn 1? Yes, he does, with relative ease. Move Yeast up into the 8th position, Pin back to 9th. Luke Bailey back there in 10th, watching this all play out. Tom Goproff getting a little bit closer, maybe to Odd Ivan, but just maybe. Of course, remember, he does have those time penalties. Here is an update on the time penalties, actually. Tom Goproff with 3 seconds, Crowhawk with 8 seconds. Eric's Mamba making a pit stop after 13 laps on those medium tires, so he's decided that enough is enough, and he's going to the hard tires. Unfortunately for Eric's Mamba, he was not even in the top 10 when he made that stop. So struggling around Bahrain circuit today is that Red Bull driver. So far, no DNFs, no retirements from the race today, and that is a big surprise after lap 16 of 29, already past the halfway point in the Speed Force Racing's GP2 series, Bahrain Grand Prix, the season opener for season 10 of GP2. As Calvin just made a move around Rogue Smithy. Let's see if Rogue Smithy's going to be able to fight back and fight back hard. He's looking underneath him. Oh, and and there's a little bit of contact, but Calvin stays ahead. Smith is going to have another shot at him down this straightaway into turn number 1. He's going to have to get a very good exit, though. Let's see if he's going to be able to do it. That DRS is active. He's using that slipstream. He's closing in on him, but it's going to be close. I don't think he's going to be able to make the move, and that is unfortunate for the Ferrari driver. He got close. He does it anyway. Outbreaks him into turn number 1, and Calvin was expecting that, but Calvin had the advantage of the outside turning into the inside, and he stays ahead of the Ferrari, at least for now. And it's looking like Calvin is actually getting a little bit of DRS off of TNR Frederick as well, so that is playing into his hands very beautifully in keeping him ahead of this Ferrari. Of course, Rogue Smithy 6 laps on those medium tires. Not sure if he's going to be going to the end or not on that set of tires. I think theoretically those tires could last long enough, but whether or not that's the fastest available opportunity, don't really think so. So Calvin with more DRS off of Frederick down the straightaway. Meanwhile, Rogue Smithy is, I believe, also with DRS. Yes, he is, and gaining slightly on Calvin thanks to it. But we are stuck in, what do you know, a DRS train led by the Aston Martin of Frederick. And Frederick, I'd say that it's a bit of a pressure situation for him right now in that Aston Martin, because he knows that there's 2 drivers behind him that could very easily pass him. But for whatever reason, he's able to keep them behind for now. But that's for now. That's not later. 14 laps on those medium tires says that Calvin's going to be getting by him sooner rather than later, and sooner might be now as Calvin goes underneath the Aston Martin, makes it look easy. The Aston Martin tries to go back around but cannot do anything with it, so move Calvin up into the 10th position, and now he's got to pick off Morris, who just made a pit stop for a fresh set of medium tires. So that means that to Jonas is now your second place driver. Kara, as you see on your screen now, in a world of his own, still 9.4 seconds ahead of second place. This is Kara land that you're looking at right now, and this is Bahrain. Rohawk, another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Unfortunate for him as we ride on board with Odd Ivan, who's trying to pick off to Jonas. Might actually have a chance at him into turn number 1. And Odd Ivan, his entire day has just been drive through the pack, pass this guy, defend on this guy, pass this guy. He has put on a fantastic show. And there goes Odd Ivan, adding another victim to his pass list for today. And now we are under a safety car. What has happened, though, to put us under the safety car? Rogue Smithy, he has crashed out. Something has happened to the Ferrari driver of Rogue Smithy. We'll see if we can see off of KXI winning if he gets around to the Ferrari. Can't even see where he stopped at on track, actually. So, unfortunately for Rogue Smithy, his day has come to a dreadful end. A late race safety car, lap 18 of 29, means that the field gets bunched up, and this is honestly the best thing that could have happened for this man right here, Odd Ivan. And arguably, this has helped Morris out a lot as well, because Morris, he just pitted for medium tires. I don't see him diving down into the pits again, even for softs. I believe that staying out would be the best strategy call for him, and this gives him an opportunity. Meanwhile, Yeast, drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. That is unfortunate for him. Now, that is a very tricky penalty there. You have to serve it under green. You cannot serve it as the field is going back to green. You have to actually stay out, run a lap, and then pull in the pits and serve it under green, unless you can somehow find a way to time it perfectly to where you can serve it before. But those moments are few and far between. Now let's see what Kara and Odd Ivan do. Kara obviously going into the pits. I'm sure that Odd Ivan will do the same as well. Do not really expect these drivers to lose many positions, if any at all. under normal green flag conditions, you can expect to lose anyway. Oh, and a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane for Odd Ivan. Not what he needed. All he had to do was back out a little bit. That was just that was a rookie mistake. I've just got to say, that was a rookie mistake, and he's not even a rookie. That was unfortunate. He did not need to push the envelope there going into the pits, but he did, and now he is paying the price. What could have been a win might not even be a podium for Odd Ivan. So Kara, Odd Ivan, and to Jonas, your top three. Morris, of course, does stay out on those medium tires. He gains one position over Tom Goproff, who is now in the 5th position. Langfeld in 6th, East in 7th, 8th is Pim, 9th is Luke Bailey, and 10th is Train Game Wow at the moment, but it's probably going to turn into Crowhawk, which it has, because Train Game Wow has pitted. So that's your top 11 for now. Train Game Wow going on a fresh set of Dr. Phil Goods. And Calvin even gets by the Alfa Romeo driver, as does Frederick. So Train Game Wow really going to be dropping back, and unfortunately he's not really at much of an advantage as compared to the rest of the field, because almost everybody has a fresh set of soft tires. So if he's going to get anywhere close to the top 5 or a podium or a win, he is only going to have about 8 laps to do it, and it's going to have to be on raw pace. So lap 20 of 29, looks like the drivers are starting to form a nice safety car line, albeit for a few stragglers at the back. Hopefully we can go green, or the safety car will pull in next time. Of course, just waiting on that information. Of course, we obviously cannot go green right now because everyone is still trying to catch the safety car cue. To Jonas, a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags, and that, I feel like, is a penalty that will likely be removed. Unfortunately, in the world of esports and in the world of sim racing, we are at the mercy sometimes of computers. And while computers and technology have done wonders for our world, wonders for our civilization, wonders for our convenience, they have also been a detriment. And just like humans, just like everything, mechanical or digital, sometimes they mess up. Sometimes it makes mistakes. Sometimes it just doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And there is a glitch where you can get a ignoring yellow flags penalty during your safety car laps, even if you did not ignore the yellow flags. So to give you an update on the time penalties, though, it is 5 seconds for Odd Ivan and to Jonas both, 3 seconds still for Tom Goproff, a drive-through for Yeast, and then 6 seconds for Crowhawk. Of course, Crowhawk was able to serve 5 seconds of his penalties in the pit lane. I say he was able to, but that makes it sound like he had a choice. If you have a 5-second time penalty and you make a pit stop, you don't have a choice. You have to serve that time penalty. Whereas the 3-second time penalty, you also don't have a choice. You just cannot serve it in the pits, and it will be added on to your total at the end of the race. Now, if you do have an unserved 5-second time penalty during the race at the end, then it will also be added on to your time. So it looks like, for the most part, everyone has caught up to the safety car queue. I fully expect to go back racing this time. Just waiting on the information to pop up if and when that. There we go, the safety car's coming in this lap. So that means that we are going to have a handful of green flag racing laps remaining. We'll go back green on lap 22 of 29. Now remember, Kara, he is going to be the control car. He gets to go whenever he wants to, as long as it's before the start-finish line. Cara taking his sweet time and decides to go right at the last minute there. And you saw him get a fantastic jump over Odd Ivan. Already 7/10 of a second, dives way down low to protect that inside, breaking up that slipstream as much as possible. We are back racing. Cara, Odd Ivan, and to Jonas, your top three. Morris and Tom Goproff, your top five. Not going to be any DRS for the first 3 laps of this race, or of this restart, I should say. On board with Tom Goproff, trying to make a move around Morris, and imagine if he had DRS, he could actually be able to do that right now, but unfortunately he does not, so he's going to have to just find a way around him on raw pace. And the thing with Tom Goproff is he's got an added responsibility. He doesn't just have to get past the driver, he has to get 3 seconds ahead of that driver if he's going to keep that position. So Odd Ivan keeping about an 8/10 of a second gap behind Cara. Not really what he is wanting, because he's going to have to get 5 seconds ahead of Cara if he's even able to get around him, if he's going to win this race. Meanwhile, to Jonas is 1.1 seconds behind Odd Ivan. Not exactly where he needs to be. Tom Goproff sticking it very close to Morris here. In that Red Bull, we'll watch him, see if he dives down for his drive-through penalty this time. He will have to serve it, otherwise he will be disqualified from the race, and he definitely does not want that. At least with serving the drive-through penalty, he has at least a snowball's chance at getting points today, and he does dive down into the pits to serve that as Tom Goproff goes around Morris, but will he be able to get the move done? It's going to be side by side. No, it's not. Into turn number 1 as the McLaren just barely gets around the Haas. Position for the 10th back here. Frederick in the Aston Martin. Bossy Gaming in 11th from the Alfa Romeo, trying to make his way into a points-paying finish. Of course, Bossy Gaming ran GP3 last season, promoted to GP2 this season, and what a fantastic result it would be for him to score at least 1 point on his debut GP2 full season. And Yeast with another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings after already serving a drive-through. This is a forgettable race for Macaulay, that is for sure, who is already in the 18th position. Not sure what we're going to see him do. Are we going to see him continue? Are we going to see him retire? Lap 23 of 29. Not really much for Macaulay to go. Meanwhile, Kare, 127.543, the fastest lap of the session. That gives him an extra bonus point on the championship if he's able to keep it. And now DRS is active. Bossy Gaming will have an opportunity to get around Frederick after turn number 3. Meanwhile, Odd Ivan nowhere close to Kara in the DRS zone, unfortunately for him. So I think that the best that he can do is a podium today, and even that is in question. Of course, all 3 of those drivers have time penalties, and Bossy Gaming, you see, has the DRS open, not able to make a move around the Aston Martin this time. But look at that, oh my goodness, and Pim in the Williams car, he has spun. There was contact with Morris, and unfortunately Pim got the short end of that stick, and he is stopped on track and now waiting for a clear hole. Now he goes back out on track, but that is not going to be a points-paying position for him today. Meanwhile, Morris hangs on to the 6th position. Lap 24 of 29, the laps are closing down. Kara, Odd Ivan, and to Jonas, your top 3 at the moment, with Tom Goproff and Langfell, your top 5. Langfell, of course, on your screen now, trying to give chase to Tom Goproff, while Morris is trying to give chase to him. Calvin racing just half a second behind Morris. That's going to be a battle that we need to keep an eye on, as well as the battle between Luke Bailey and Frederick happening just about 2 seconds behind them. Calvin, he's got an opportunity. He has got the overtake active, he has got the slipstream, he's got the DRS, and he has got the position. He goes around Morris and makes it look like the Haas was not even there. move Calvin up into the 6th position. Do we see a top 5 maybe for the Mercedes driver in the first race of the GP2 season? Just behind them, Luke Bailey, TNR Frederick, and Bossy Gaming battling it out for the 8th, 9th, and 10th positions. Bossy Gaming going to go underneath of Luke Bailey and makes that move, but will he make it stick? Will he clear the McLaren? No, he will not. Not this time, but Luke Bailey backs out of it. Oh, there's contact! Contact! Luke Bailey goes off and maybe into the wall. Bossy Gaming off the track as well. He has to regain, but this will likely be a time penalty for Bossy Gaming, and he is losing so many positions. And Luke Bailey, a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. Meanwhile, Bossy Gaming somehow got away without a time penalty, and in P12, he might still be able to get a points-paying position out of this. And Luke Bailey, another 10-second time penalty for disobeying track limits. What in the world did we just see? Bossy Gaming now behind his teammate of Train Game Wow. Maybe the two can work together and both get points out of this, but they're going to have to get around Norloser. Oh my goodness, and who just spun? That was Eric's Mamba in the Red Bull. He is spun. So now Train Game Wow is in a points-paying position. Bossy Gaming is not. Lap 25 and 29. No battle going on at the front. As this calms down, though, to Jonas is starting to get close to Odd Ivan, not able to make a move down the front straightaway that time. Might see a little bit of a different story out of turn number 3, maybe, but Odd Ivan getting a better exit out of the corner than the Alpine driver was able to do. So Jonas can only gain, but he cannot pass, not this time. Call Odd Ivan Odd Gandalf, at least for this race. Train Game Wow moves into 8th place. Looks like something has happened to Morris. What has happened to Morris? We are under a safety car at We're under a safety car, lap 26 of 29. Something has happened to Morris. He has crashed off the circuit just out of turn number 3. And that is not what Morris needed. He had such a good run going, could have been a top 5, would have almost certainly been a points-paying position. And all that is now out the window, and he finds himself sitting in a DNF position out of this race on lap 26. So this changes everything. No pit stops that I expect to be happening, at least not for the top 5 or 10 drivers. 3 of the top 5 have time penalties. And when we go back racing, we're probably only going to have about 1 or 2 laps to go. So that begs the question. Can Langfell in the Aston Martin get a podium here today? And Kara's pitted. Kara has actually made a pit stop. Odd Ivan does not. To Jonas does not. Tom Gofroff probably does not. Does not. Langfell does not. Calvin does not. Only Kara. For mediums. For medium tires. Old medium tires at that. 10-lap old medium tires. Kara has just thrown the win out the window. Not sure what happened there. There was no reason to make that pit stop, and Kara did it anyway. I don't know if Jeff messed up or if Kara messed up, but someone messed up, and they just cost Williams the win. But this could bode well for Langfell, who could be on to get a win today in Bahrain. And it's just been brought to my attention that something has happened to Kara, and so the AI took control of that car. So, to answer the question, Jeff messed up. Our champion, our GP2 champion from last season, Carwin Robb, told us that he had absolute 100% full confidence in Jeff. Somehow that won him the championship, but I would be willing to wager that it was not because of Jeff. It was just because of Carwin Robb. Because in my experience, Jeff is never correct. Even when he is correct, he is still wrong. And I don't know why he is really still in the game. I don't see why there has not been any improvements made to Jeff's AI. But that is one of life's mysteries. Along with who built the pyramids and, well, what happened at Roswell in 1947. But enough of the filler. We are about to go back green for 2 laps of racing. Odd Ivan to Jonas, Tom Goproff, all three of them with time penalties, and there you see it, 5, 5, and 3, which means that Langfell in fourth is your virtual leader. If this race were to end at this very second, Langfell would be your winner, but Langfell, he's got 2 laps to go before he can start to celebrate because he's going to have to start racing hard, and he's going to have to keep those drivers within, he's going to have to keep Odd Ivan 5 seconds close to him. He's going to have to keep Tom Goproff at least 3 seconds close to him. It's going to be a very interesting 2 laps. And to Jonas getting around Tom Goproff. To Jonas, of course, with 5 seconds of time penalties. Tom Goproff with 3 seconds of time penalties. If he can get around to Jonas, he might be on for a win. But Langfell trying to make a move. Can't really do anything with it on the outside of that McLaren. Oh, and a little bit of a wiggle there. We'll see him lose a small amount of ground to the McLaren, but they're still locked very tight, nose to tail. Meanwhile, Odd Ivan has increased the gap to 1.1 seconds over to Jonas. If he can get 4 more seconds, then he will be okay. But 4 seconds in 2 laps, that's almost impossible. On board with Frederick, thought about making a move on Calvin, not able to do anything with it. No DRS, and there will be no DRS until... well, really, there just will not be any more DRS in this race because it's almost the final lap. Just 2 to go, almost 1 to go as soon as Odd Ivan crosses that line. And remember, Langfell, he is in position to inherit this win, but it's going to be very close. Frederick, Langfell's teammate, you see him battling here hard with Train Game Wow behind him and Calvin in front of him. Here is Langfell, your 4th place car who could be the winner. At the end of this lap, 1 more lap to go. Odd Ivan leads, but with a 5-second time penalty, it might not stick. 1.4 seconds ahead of Jonas, who is half a second ahead of Tom Goproff. Langfell is 2.7 seconds behind the leader of Odd Ivan. Langfell cannot afford a time penalty now. He has got to run the cleanest lap of his life. Calvin Racing, of course, he could also be on for a win. There's so many variables that could play into Langfell or Calvin or Frederick getting or not getting this win. Maybe even Train Game Wow, but I think we're going a little bit too far behind to really compensate for these time penalties, but who knows at this point. Langfell now 3.2 seconds behind the leader. If he picks up a time penalty now, it is all over for him, but if he does not pick up a time penalty, then he can still inherit this win. There you see Langfell just ahead of Calvin, trailing Tom Goproff. Meanwhile, here is Odd Ivan. With just 1 more corner to go, you have to wonder what could have been if he had not gotten the 5-second time penalty. He sped in the pit lane under the safety car out of the final corner. Odd Ivan has shown he's going to be fast this season. It will not be a win, but he crosses the line in first on track. But after the time penalty, it's going to be in the Aston Martin. TNR Frederick with the win. Congratulations to Aston Martin on their double podium today. TNR Frederick with the win. Second place was Calvin. I do believe that the other Aston Martin was in P3. Let's get confirmation here in just a moment. Driver of the day, Calvin Racing. I do have to agree with that as well. So what a fantastic result here today. Your official finishing results for the Speed Force Racing's GP2 Series Bahrain Grand Prix. TNR Langfell in the first position. Then Calvin Racing in second. TNR Frederick in third. Train Game Wow in fourth. Odd Ivan in fifth. Tom Goproff in sixth. Seventh is Bossy Gaming. To Jonas in eighth. Ninth is Norloser. Mansell in 10th. KXI in 11th. Yeast in 12th. 13th is Crowhawk. 14th is Kara. 15th is Morris. Mamba in 16th. 17th is Luke Bailey. Pim in 18th. 19th is Rogue Smithy. If Langfell, Calvin, and Frederick want to join our interviews, they are, of course, able to do so at will, and if they do, we will talk to our top 3 finishers. But what a fantastic race that was. P19 to P2 says, Calvin, yeah, and you have definitely earned the driver of the day for today. So just waiting to get our top 3 drivers in here if they decide to join. Of course, if they don't decide to join, then we won't be able to talk to them. But Calvin, he is joined, and I'm sure that he's going to be very happy to talk to us. Hopefully we can get Langfell and Frederick in here as well. But overall, I think that we saw an action-packed season opener for the GP2 series, and I hope that that is just a taster of the races to come for the remainder of the season. 20 more races left to go before we crown a champion, but that's a long, long way away. First, we have to talk to our second place finisher, and if they join, our first and third place finishers as well. We'll give them just another brief moment. Calvin, do you know if they're going to be able to join?
I'm not too sure. I can send them a message. Who was it? I got a bit confused at the end there with those penalties.
It was Langfell and Frederick, both Aston Martins.
Give me 1 second. I've just asked them. We'll have to just give them a minute and see what's going on with them.
All right. Well, while we're waiting on them, we can go ahead and talk to you. But, of course, you know how this works. Make sure that you've allowed your voice to be shared. If you don't know how to do that, go over to the party settings, click Always Allow, and let me know when you're ready.
Tim, just for a quick second, Langfell is saying if he gets an invite, yes. I'm not too sure if he's actually in this party yet or not.
I can add him if he's not.
Okay.
Please do. So Langfell will be joining. We already have Frederick in here and Calvin, so that means that we will get to talk to our top 3 finishers today, and there is Langfell. All right, so we will go ahead and do that. We will talk to you all here in just a moment. We will start with Calvin, but please, everyone, make sure that you have allowed your voices to be shared. Go over to party settings, click Always Allow. Let me know when you're ready. And Calvin, I know that you're ready. So,
Indeed.
All right, so talk us through it, Calvin. You wrecked in qualifying, P19 all the way up to P2, close to a win, not quite, but I'm sure that you're still very happy.
I couldn't ask for a better start to the race after that P19 disaster in qualifying. I'm just, to be honest with you, worn out, but happy because that was one hell of a race and that was difficult that whole time. Some good battles along the way, had some really good ones with the likes of Morris and Luke Bailey. Hopefully made it entertaining to watch because that was hard work. But it was really fun either way, and yeah, was a bit surprised at the end when there was a second safety car and then a possible podium out of nowhere, and yeah, I mean, it really could not have fallen any better way. And fair play to the other guys. I mean, Langfell, yeah, getting that first win as well, especially on the first full-time drive, and yeah, was trying to get you at the end, but unfortunately couldn't quite get it. But a P2 to start the season is never a bad thing after a crash out in qualifying.
And a wicked crash out that certainly was. It was a very hard hit, but you know, we're glad to see that you were able to recover from what I'm sure was a very stressful qualifying and go on to get P2. So congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
Now we'll talk to our first-time winner of Langfell in the Aston Martin. So Langfell, just tell us, going into this race, did you think that you were going to be standing on the top spot of that podium?
Nope. I had a practice session with Frederick and T. Johnny's, and so my pace was actually okay, as long as I kept to the DRS.
So obviously it was that very late race safety car that was your saving grace. Otherwise, you still would have had a decent points-paying position. But other than that, do you think that there's any other key moments that really solidified this for you?
I got a little bit mad when we were fighting Morris because we lost Avin and T. Johnny's in the lead. But I don't know why the safety car came out that late. That saved definitely my race. I don't know if I'm gonna say any key. I don't know. The race was the safety car came at a decent place. Like we didn't lose too much time. And since I kept it penalty free, it was a good race to just stay there behind people.
Well, looks like you were able to do it correctly, and you know, sometimes it's better to be lucky than in the first position, and today you were fast, but also a little bit lucky with that safety car, but it got you a win. Congratulations.
Agreed. Thank you.
And now we'll talk to your teammate of Frederick. So Frederick, you get a podium. Aston Martin starts off the season with a double podium, and I'm pretty sure that means that they start off the season in the lead in the constructors' standings. So what are your expectations for the remainder of the season?
Just kind of happy with how the entire race turned out. Got really unlucky at the start into the hairpin on the first lap. I was hit from behind, and then that car pushed me into the car in front, so I lost my wing and was kind of lacking behind the entire race. But then on lap 18 or 19, when the safety car came out, it was kind of the perfect time for me. I had to go in and pit anyways, so I put on the soft tires and just tried to stay with the field. And then there was another safety car, and then suddenly I was in P6, and then suddenly 1, 2, and 3 had penalties, so I don't know what exactly happened and exactly how it went down. A lot of cars crashed out as well on the final few laps, but I was able to keep it clean for myself towards the end. I expect to be pushed away from the podium though, because Tejonis had a 5-second penalty for an illegal overtake on a car that overtook him during the safety car. So to me it sounds like that should be removed, but you know, just happy to have a solid start to the season and to get some decent points for the team for the constructors as well.
And that is actually interesting that you mentioned that. I do remember that happening. So the third place finish for those watching might be contested, but regardless, it could be third, it could be fourth for you. It's still a fantastic start to the season, and I'm sure that you're happy to walk away with some points.
Yeah, definitely. Really good start to the season, and I mean, if you want to do something good in the constructors as well with my teammate, we have to be on our front foot throughout the entire season, so a really good start, and hope to keep it this way.
And with that, that's all the time that we have, but thank you all so much for watching. Thanks to all the drivers that have raced with us, and congratulations to our top 3 finishers. We'll be back next week in Portimao. But until next time, good morning, good evening, good day, good night, wherever you are in the world. Have fun, and goodbye.